Let's have a plant update and head inside the polytunnel. Quite a busy space, as you can see. Let's start up here. What have we got? A few of the marigolds that I started from seed, looking good. A couple of scabosa that I've cold sown in here. A very leggy looking cauliflower. And those chive seeds there are seeds that were 9 years old, so I thought I'll give them a go, see if they germinate, and they have. I also put some old calendula in, but they haven't fared so well, so I've just bought a new packet of those. A couple of cucumbers. They're doing well. Now onto the peppers. This one and this one are yellow bell peppers. Now this was the experiment that I've been doing, so that one's been grown under the lights and that one's just been on the kitchen windowsill. There is quite a marked difference now in size. I mean, that one I've had to pinch out because it was big enough. As you can see, these were the original leaves, and then all that bushy growth has happened because I pinched out. Next to it, so these two, those are red bell peppers. Again, very strong and vigorous plants. And those two bell peppers, I've just been in here, I potted them on. I only wanted a couple of each variety, so just left them here. I thought they'd die, but actually, even though they're slower, they've withstood all the frosts and cold nights we've had. Just been in here. These peppers at the moment, if it's a dull day, they're under a grow light. If it's a nice day like today, I pop them in the polytunnel and then just pop them in the house overnight. Tomatoes. So yeah, it's been I'm a bit behind on my single seed challenge update, but it's had 2 pottings on since you've seen him last. This is my Costaluto Florentino in the orange pot. He's doing really well. I think he's got some flower buds starting to form. So yeah, it looks a really vigorous plant. The Brad's Atomic Grape not fared so well. It's looking okay, that one, but it's not as vigorous as its neighbour, as you see. I know it's a different variety, but I did put 2 of those seeds in and one just withered and died, so what I'm going to have to do is grow some more with some of the side shoots that you take off. These are a couple of sun gold. Well, there's 3 sun gold there. They're getting a bit leggy, they need potting on into their own pots today, so I'll do that. I've got 2 of each chili variety. These are Palavex. Again, they've been pinched out. You can see these bigger leaves would have been the original ones, but where it's been topped, can you see what's happening? Again, a much bushier plant because it's branching out, so that'll give me a lot more fruit. I do grow Palavex every year, I love them. Next to them, these 2 are jalapeno. Again, they've been pinched out. You can see the bigger leaves against where they're starting to grow. Now there's a story behind the next 2. These 2 are sweet banana peppers. What happened with those 2 is I accidentally left them in the polytunnel overnight and we had a frost and I thought they'd died. I'll insert a little shot at what they looked like. They were all shriveled and black leaves, but where I'd pinched them out, they started to regrow, and this is what they look like now. So give them a chance. The front 2 here, these are habanero orange. Those 2 will need potting on today. A bit behind their neighbours were potting on. Usually because hotter chilies, I've found this with habaneros before, they take quite a little bit to get going, but once they do get going, they're fine. These are actually starting to bush out on their own. So when that happens, I don't usually bother with pinching out. Same as these 2 here. These are really vigorous and bushing out. These are bird's eye chilies. So these are great just to throw in a curry. You can see there's lots of buds forming. Now if I wanted the plant to bush out, I'd pinch those out, but I don't see any problem in letting them grow, to be fair, because they're a natural bushing variety, as you can see. Got my first tray of early cabbage there, so I've just sown another tray ready to germinate. Getting better at this succession growing. Those are earliest of all. There's my Sarracenia just coming back to life. Carnivorous plant. These here in these little pots, these are snapdragons. Do you remember in March I planted some of the seeds that I collected off my own pink and orange hoping? Well, I've pricked those ones out and those are sitting in the pots now. This first row of onions are my January sowing. Those are Rheinsberger, white ones. They're starting to thicken up quite nicely. And in front of those, these ones are a month behind. So these are the ones I sowed not long ago. These are Golden Bear. But again, they're coming on quite nice, looking quite healthy. To the side here I've got some red onions growing, and down there some spring onion. That is my agave that's took shelter here over winter. Even though they're very tropical, they can stand a lot of cold but not a lot of wet. So that's hid out in the polytunnel over winter. That'll go out after the last frost. There we have a pot of chamomile. Now I've tried chamomile for a few years and never have success, and the reason being is because I'm too kind to it. They like poor soil, so I've just winter sowed them here in the polytunnel in some potting compost, not potting compost, sorry. I've winter sown them in some seed compost because there's no nutrients, and they seem pretty happy with that. Got some red cabbage here. That has been winter sown in the polytunnel. It's coming up, it's looking a bit leggy, but I'll just, when they get the first set of leaves, I'll prick those out and pop them on a bit deeper. This tub here is garlic chives, and then I've got some bull's blood beetroot to grow there for the leaves. Next to it, looking a bit finer, those are a couple of trays of leeks, a baby agave, and here I've got a couple of trays of onion sets of each red and white. Now I don't usually like sets, even the heat treated ones I found bolt, but I've put them in as a backup, if you like, in case my onions didn't germinate. But I needn't to have bothered because I've just showed you some, and here's some more. They're growing really quite nice. At the back there I've got marigolds, a couple of trays that I grew from seed, a couple of trays of zabroon shallots, some red spring onions, lilia, and some more onions at the front. Those are a mixture of red baron and some more of the Rheinsberger. So what's on the other side? Oh, not to be forgotten, my cosmos is coming up and needs pricking out. That'll be done shortly. Got a few tropicals lurking out here. Somebody did spot it before. It's a tetrapanax plant. They grow huge. I've got a really big one in ground outside, and that is a Schefflera taiwaniana. That is a gunnera. It's supposed to be a manicata, but I'm thinking it's not. I've got some calendula under the dome there. The new seed, as I said, the old seed didn't germinate. Well, I had two come up out of a packet, so that's a new packet there, ready to come up for the allotment. Got some brassicas at the back there, so got a couple of salves of crispus and 4 salves of swede. In front of those I've got a tray of curly kale. They'll want pricking out soon. And some rainbow chard. Got some peas growing. So these are my alderman peas. Those are growing quite nicely. Alongside those we've got mange too. They've germinated nicely. And here I've got my sweet peas. That's a little heucheranium there, sheltering from the winter. And in the pots behind I've got some calla lilies and some canna lilies. Those are coming up now. You might think they look dead, but if you look closely, you see some live shoots coming up now. So I've just started to water that now because they've started shooting. Here are the tray of snapdragons that are sown. You're just seeing some over the other side pricked out, so there's lots more there to go. Here are some night scented stock that I've winter sown here in the polytunnel. Because they scent in the evening and at night, they feed the moths and they smell beautiful. They're not the best thing to look at, but they smell, they're worth growing for that. Here I've got some purple sprouting broccoli and some Maximus Brussels sprouts. I'm doing a couple of varieties of Brussels to see which suits the allotment best. And here we've got, look like snapdragons again. Yep, some more snapdragons and some alyssum. A couple of trays of beetroot coming up. And look at my sunflowers. I know you might think it's a bit early for sunflowers, but these two varieties, Harlequin and Moonwalkers, these are both multi-headed varieties, so I do grow them early, although they're too tender to leave out in the polytunnel at night. So 6:45 every night my alarm goes, the tomatoes come in, cucumbers, sunflowers, and then I've got some sage that I've grown from seed that's coming up quite nicely, and some zinnias. I've got 2 trays of zinnias that have been left in here to winter sow and they've not come up. This pot, because they were leftover seeds, accidentally got popped on with the sunflower tray, so they've germinated because it was inside. So I've just taken the other 2 trays in to get them up and then I'll bring them back out. So yeah, you've been watching lots of videos of me, well I hope, of me getting the allotment prepared, but it's looking a bit bare. So just goes to show I have actually got some produce waiting to go in. It's a 2 faceted job, isn't it, this allotmenting? You've got to get the allotment itself ready and then get the plants ready to go in. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how everything's coming on. So again, I'd just like to reiterate how happy I am that people are following along, and the subscribers and the comments are always positive and encouraging, some great tips, and I do appreciate it, and so does Frank. So have yourselves a fantastic week, and please come back next week to see how we're progressing with the plot. We do have a couple of things ongoing and we're hoping to get somewhere with those this week. Bye for now.